the reality is they're here to stay, and they are. And Mark, you look at it. So over the weekend, I was speaking to some of the Saudis. What are they up to? We're in pursuit of finding the best version of ourselves. So what does that mean? We're looking to increase competitiveness, create long-term growth, Mark. Become one of the top 10 leagues in the world. They've already done that, in my view. They say 80% of the Saudi people either watch, attend or play football. But here's the deal. Anytime they need to throw money at a big project, and Ronaldo was probably the biggest, Mark, they can dip into the Public Investment Fund, a sovereign wealth fund, which has right now, today, this Monday lunchtime, assets of £530 billion.
So if you look at interest rates, if they get 5% on their investment, look at what they have every year. This is loose change to them in terms of actual outlay of money. So I think you'd be foolish to underestimate it, Jim. You'd be foolish to say this is a short-term venture. Look at the golf as well. This is not going to be gone in 2 or 3 years' time. There's long-term plans. My initial problem is the lack of history. You can't buy history in terms of the fan base and building it and father to son and grandfather to father and all these things that come with the established leagues. You look all around the world.
Would you be tempted? Have they approached you?
I've had an interest to go to Saudi.
Your interest or theirs?
No, they came to me, but it wasn't for me, Jim, personally. It's not for me. It's a big culture change. There's not in any way being derogatory to Saudi, far from it. It's a complete lifestyle change. But I think in terms of the league, they are here for the long term. They can buy any player. And people say it's greed. It's not greed. They're working men. Any manager, coach, player is a working man. And if you get offered 10 times your money, whatever it may be, you're going to go. So I understand that fully. But I think now they will need time. The one commodity they need is time to establish what they're trying to do. And
what was the key factor in you saying no? Because they'd offer you maybe 10 times what you might have been earning.
In truth, financially, it wasn't quite right for me. And in terms of the lifestyle and quality of life and what I'd like to do, I'm at a certain age, Jim, I've got to choose wisely. If I'm 40 years old, 45 years old, I can afford to make a mistake or a bad choice. I can't at my age. I have to make sure I choose wisely.
It's a great point you make about history, because we've been debating this, Jim, and you've said that if Ronaldo is playing Benzema, you're going to sit down and watch that, as opposed to, maybe even a Premier League game. If Burnley were playing Luton, you would choose the Saudi option.
I might do.
I wouldn't. And I think because of the history and the tradition, I can relate more to Swindon against Port Vale than I can to Al Hilal against Al Akli. It just doesn't do it for me.
But it just shows you don't know the two names.
Yeah, but I try really hard there.
I'm not bothered, Mark, about how the teams do. I don't care who wins it, but I care who plays in it.
So how can you get invested in that product if you don't care about the outcome of the result?
I want to see how Jota, formerly of Celtic, does in this company. I want to see how Jordan Henderson behaves. Is he going to earn his 350 grand a week?
Better because the league's poor.
I want to see how Gerrard operates as a manager out there.
Let's not cut. Listen, you've got 20 good players. That's it. So we can sit here and speak about it. The rest of it's bang average, right? They've got 20 outstanding players that have gone across there,
and that's just the start, though, Carl.
Yeah, I know it'll increase, and I know. But you said before, for me, the Championship, and we've managed in that. It is one of the most exciting leagues. The entertainment that you get, the history that you mentioned before, the hustle, but it's ingrained in us. I think we're different to maybe some other countries, because we have that history, that tradition with our game that we love so much. So maybe we're a little bit different to players on the continent. We might find it easier to go to Saudi Arabia. For me, it's not what I want to see.
So it's an inferior league, you're saying?
I can see a Henderson, I can see a Vardy.
So can Henderson still expect to be picked by Southgate?
I don't think the level of competition that he plays week in, week out will allow him to play.
He'll coast for it
at the level that he'll needed to be successful for England.
That's a no then.
That's the long-term plan, Jim. The long-term plan is to raise the quality of the domestic player. That has to be. You look at the MLS and you go back to the days of Best and Rodney Marsh and Pele.
Yes.
You had 3 outstanding world talents at the end of their career and nothing behind it. The MLS have now built up a quality of domestic player. The Saudis will need time to build up the quality. As Carl's right, you can't have 15, 20, 25 world-class players and nothing else in the squad.
Do you know what, Mark? You've just nailed it, because he said to me, the top of the football pyramid, Carl, was the last part that needed fixing. The leagues below, they're happy with. They've got the best under-23s, they say. We have the best under-21s going. It's a top flight. So what do we do with the top flight? They've increased from 750 coaches to 5,500 coaches in their country. They're trying to entice people like Mourinho, like others, who so far have said no. But they're not going to stop, because they know they can buy F1, they can buy boxing, they'll buy tennis, they're buying golf, they want to buy football.
Listen, you
can't
respect
buy
that.
history like
you have to respect. You have to respect it, though. You have to respect the dreams and the ambitions that they have for their country. But it doesn't mean that I have to agree with it. It doesn't mean that I have to like it. You said before Swindon. I don't like Swindon because of the Oxford connections, but so that was a bad club for me. But for me, and we've worked at different levels, and when you go to these games within our country, they'll never be able to get that. They won't. The infrastructure in this country, but I understand the different sports can be bought. Formula 1's different. Golf's different. It is. You can move it around anytime you want.
Yeah. And you two so far have said no. Carl, you wouldn't go. Mark, you've already told them you're not going. But there's going to be a time they're going to go for it. And in terms of, let's try Klopp. Let's try Pep.
I honestly think, Jim, this is a long-term... You've rightly said it there. This is a long-term plan. This is not a short-term project by any means. So you have to respect the fact they're going to be here for the long haul, and they're going to put in place certain building blocks to get where they want to get to. The domestic game is huge. Quality of coaching, coach education, all of the things that we take for granted. They've got the money to accelerate those processes, but you still cannot accelerate too. You need time to build what you need to build.
Yeah, they're quite candid about it, Carl. I'm just looking at some of the things I was told over the weekend. They love football the most in the country. Of all sports, this is what they love. But they feel they didn't have the level of experience on or off the pitch. Yeah. And now they're, quotes, fixing that.
Yeah, and for me, you speak about the coaches. What are the coach qualifications like? Who's delivering the qualifications? We're very lucky within our country. Our FA are one of the best in the world at how we promote and develop our own coaches. I do think in 10 years' time we could all be sat around having a conversation and our view could be completely different. And it might be, because it might just grow. But where we sit right now, it's brave of the players to go there, but they are all players. Maybe Jota's a bit different.
Nevis.
Most of them, there's about 70% of them are towards the back end of the career.
Will it improve Gerrard as a manager?
Well, I think any game improves a manager, regardless whatever you manage. But the level of competition managing at Glasgow Rangers or Aston Villa and the pace and the speed, and that's a big thing I noticed when we went to Leeds, when you stand on that touchline and the level of quality of player that runs past you and the speed of thought, and then the manager has to think of that same intensity as well. That's the challenge of a manager on a touchline at the top level of our game. Will they have that over in Saudi? I don't think so.
And could it not have the opposite effect for Gerrard if he ends up finishing 7th in the Saudi league? If he goes for a job in this country in 3 years' time.
Where was Stephen going to go, though? Things are a bit different for him, and this is where I'll stick up for him. Obviously, being a Liverpool fan as well. But it's, where does he go?
He'd got a championship job, wouldn't he?
I know, but he's almost... People would be looking for him to fail. The problem with like Stephen Gerrard or even a Frank Lampard, they were so good as a player, and we could never bring them down as a player because they always play well. Oh, as a manager, we know how hard it is to succeed. So wherever he went, there'd be someone sticking a knife in.
That's part and parcel of it. You two know that. You've got to deal with the scrutiny.
Yeah, it's fair play, though. He's been brave. He's gone over to a different market to challenge himself and learn. And part of the learning will be dealing with players maybe below the level he had at Rangers and Villa. So how does he get his message across to slightly less players? So it's a challenge, no doubt. I think he'll be better for it and hope he does really well, and then he can have the choice of where to go from there.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.